Next hour, Chief Operating Officer of the Rams, Kevin Demoff, will join the program. And the Rams spent time in Hawaii, and they are trying to build their brand globally. And Kevin will be on, and we will talk about that. But now, it's been much too long. So we welcome on the host of the Clipper pregame, halftime, and postgame show. He's got a YouTube show about the Clippers as well. It's the Saltier, Adam Oslin. Adam, how are you?
Aloha, guys. How we doing? How we feeling?
Aloha. Aloha to you.
You went to aloha on me. Okay.
You brought up the Rams there. Why not?
So what have you been doing, Adam? I mean, it's tough. Well, first of all, the season is way too long. I mean, how long ago did the Clippers season end? Like 6 months ago?
You ranting about this like every 2 weeks is way too long, Fred. This is like your number one gripe, your big crusade. Oh, the NBA season's way too long. I feel like you hit on this every couple weeks.
Adam, let me ask you something.
Here we
now,
go.
you watched the game last night, right?
Yeah, I watched the game last night.
Of course you watched the game. Didn't it seem a little anticlimactic?
You mean because the best player on the Indiana Pacers tore his Achilles and it kind of took the air out of the building and it was heartbreaking and gut-wrenching and it, kind of put a damper on a dark cloud on what could have been maybe the greatest Game 7 ever. It felt like it was heading that way.
First of all, no, it might not have been the greatest Game 7 ever.
It felt like it, Fred. It felt like a good game going on.
It was a 1-point lead or 2-point lead going into halftime. What do you mean it wouldn't? Every one of these games has been pretty epic, though,
yes.
Fred.
And Fred, most of the time, Game 7s are like knockdown, drag-out fights that end in the 70s. Remember Lakers versus Celtics in 2010? They can be really ugly. This game didn't feel like that. There was some well-played basketball out there, but unfortunately it was marred by the fact that Tyrese Halliburton tore his Achilles.
What are you saying? It wasn't going to be one of those exciting finishes, Fred?
Well, I don't know. Adam goes ever. I think ever was a bit over.
Okay, I said might have been. Who knows? This was one of the greatest NBA playoffs ever. That's just facts. All the series from front to back, from the first round to the NBA Finals, all the game winners, the series that went 7 games, the amount of them, like this was epic, and it felt like the unstoppable force versus the immovable object in this NBA Finals, where I had OKC winning in 5 or 6 games, and Indiana said, hell no. We're taking this thing to 7, and they looked very comfortable early on as Tyrese Halliburton hit 3 3-pointers within the first 6 minutes.
Yeah, Fred.
Put that in your pipe. Smoke it.
Take that, Fred. Yeah, every time everyone counted Indiana out, they found a way to claw back in and surprise people, which is why this whole thing went to Game 7. I mean, I think most people thought OKC was going to run through them. It's going to be, one of those gentleman sweeps or 4-2 or whatever it may be. But the Pacers forced a Game 7, and it would have been, it would have been an epic Game 7 had Halliburton not got hurt.
The hell, Fred? You asked me if I watched the game last night. Did you watch the game last night? Did you watch the series at all? Or because it was too small markets, you said, nah, not good enough for me. That's beneath me. I'll wait for the Lakers or Knicks.
I actually watched. Yes, Adam, I watched.
All right. Well,
I saw the game last night, and I watched a lot of the playoffs.
Right.
For whatever reason, I just couldn't get excited. I'm sorry. I'm being honest.
How?
I don't know.
You're not a
I don't know, and
fan.
maybe you're right. Maybe I'm more of a home guy, and if the Lakers or Clippers are in it, I'm going to be into it.
Well,
like
the
the
Lakers
NHL playoffs. Maybe if the Kings are in it, I'm more into it. That could be the case. You could be right.
It was a fascinating series to me because the magical run that the Indiana Pacers were on, I hadn't seen anything like it before, guys. You want to talk about the whole is greater than the sum of its parts in a league that is driven by superstars, and people were still debating, is Tyrese Halliburton even a superstar? Is their best player even a superstar? How are they doing this right now? He has a Robert Horry career-like run in one playoffs when it comes to clutch shots. He hit clutch shots in each and every series, huge. Big-time three-pointers, big-time comebacks. The Indiana Pacers, it looked like they were Cinderella. And I thought they had a coin flip chance of winning on the road against OKC in Game 7. This would have been, if they had won this series, the Indiana Pacers, we'd be talking about this forever. This was New York Giants versus the Patriots. That's what it felt like.
Ooh, New York Giants versus the Patriots.
Guys, the Thunder were minus 700 favorites. You'd have to bet, so 7-1 odds. Like, you'd have to bet $100 or $700 just to win 100. They were huge favorites in this series. And Indiana was doing the exact same thing against them that they had done throughout this entire playoff run. It was unbelievable.
Adam, what do you think about the trade with Kevin Durant?
I think the Houston Rockets fleeced them, Freddie. I think the Phoenix Suns, now maybe they just didn't have a better offer out there, and that could very well be the case. Once Kevin Durant says, hey, I either want Houston or Miami or San Antonio, I won't go to Minnesota, it kind of limits your options, and they wanted to get it done before the draft on Wednesday. So it put them in a corner a little bit to have to make a deal. They weren't bargaining from a position of strength, you could say, and maybe they just had to take the best offer. But to me, for them not to get Jabari Smith Jr. out of it, Tari Eason, Reed Shepard, Amen Thompson, Şengün, they didn't get Cam Whitmore. They didn't get their 2 first-round picks back that Houston got from them a couple of years ago from Phoenix that would be very valuable to the Suns. They got the 10th pick in this draft. They got Dylan Brooks. I like that. But Jalen Green is a complete wild card. And I think the Houston Rockets wanted to get rid of him because...
Yeah, what happened to him, Adam? I mean, because 2 years ago, he was about to be the toast of the league and a new kid on the block and all these things and all the hype, and it feels like he fell off a cliff.
He just has, I think, a really low floor. His ceiling may be high, who he could be at his very best, but he has games, and we saw it in that first-round series when Houston was the 2 seed against Golden State, and they lost in 7 games, where he's out there going 2 for 20. Like, he had one good game where he scored 30 points. And outside of that, he was miserable. He is a streaky shooter. He is a chucker. He is an inefficient player. I'm not saying I'm giving up on him because he's only 23 years of age, and with athleticism and potential like that, I get it. The explosiveness is there. He's a very exciting player. But I think the Houston Rockets were saying, we got all these other young guys that have higher floors out there. We'd rather give them a longer runway to develop. And if Jalen Green is out there taking 20 shots per night, that's taking away usage and reps from these other young guys. I think they wanted to move him. And to get Kevin Durant out of this, you can say he's 37, cool, or he's going to be by the time this season starts. Guys, he's still one of the top 15 players in the league. He was one of the most efficient players in the league on jump shots. Of anyone who took 500 jump shots last season, he shot 5% better on those shots than the next best guy, which was SGA. Like, he is tremendously efficient still. He's, I think, going to age well. We thought he'd slow down after the Achilles. He responded better than anyone in NBA history after that. He has still been elite, and he's exactly what they needed because their offense was an absolute mess in that playoff series against the Golden State Warriors. Their defense is so good it kept them in it, and they're still going to be really good on that end, but they need someone who's much more reliable on the offensive end that can just go and get a bucket because KD's 37, but he's not old enough to where he's starting to shrink yet. He's still 7 feet tall and can shoot over the top of you. Even if he can't get by you as much, he can still get clean looks out there. They did very well, not giving up those draft picks that were formerly owned by the Phoenix Suns back to them, and not giving up one of the young players that they really covet. And now they have this opportunity where maybe KD signs a 1+1, an extension of 2 years after this one, so he's got 3 more years left in the league. He'll play till he's 40 or whatever. Say he plays 3 or 4 more years. Well, after that, they get his money off the books. They still have their picks, and these young guys who are only like 23 now are going to be starting the prime of their career and ready to go. So the Houston Rockets are set up for a nice little window here where they can contend, and they can contend immediately. I think they're one of the more talented teams in the league now.
And as for Phoenix, they just don't know what they're doing, do they?
You know about that situation, Fred. I got to give you credit. You called out DeAndre Ayton, the number 1 pick in the draft a few years back before anybody did, and you were right about it. And while he's not he's been gone for a couple of seasons, and they still just haven't been able to figure it out, they have some dysfunction.
Adam, the Bradley Beal deal just killed him. Well, that was a terrible decision.
The KD move is understandable. That's kind of like the Clippers, and maybe we'll get into this a little bit, making the move they did, trading all the picks in SGA to bring in Kawhi and Paul George. It's understandable why they did it. Everybody said it was the right move at the time. nobody questioned the KD move for the Phoenix Suns. The one they questioned and first guessed was Bradley Beal because he's too similar. There's a skill set overlap with him, KD, and Devin Booker, and in the bad ways, too, where he's not a great defender on the other end.
Not a great.
Yeah, okay, I'm being kind. A poor defender and a no-trade clause. He and LeBron James are the only two guys with a no-trade clause in the league. And now they're going to have to, bully him to make him waive his no-trade clause to go somewhere else, because if they do hold on to Jalen Green now and they want to pair him with Booker, that's definitely not going to work with Bradley Beal. They will be even worse than they were this season. If your three best players all don't play great defense and all are just similar guards that are, one of them's explosive, the other two are jump shooters in Beal and Booker, you can't win like that. Their defense was 27th this past year, and their offense, quite frankly, wasn't good enough, even though they got plenty of games from KD and Booker. So they have more issues than just talent. They didn't play well together. And then that story comes out, there were fistfights in the locker room from DeMarcus Cousins. Kevin Durant went on Twitter, argued about that, said it wasn't true. Who knows? But Phoenix is in a real bad place. But they do have the 10th pick in the draft. That may be the best thing they got from the Houston Rockets. We'll see. I'll reserve full judgment on the trade after seeing who they draft. And by the way, this trade can't be fully consummated till July 6th, I think. So there's a possibility another team gets involved. It turns into a three-way trade. Maybe these aren't all the pieces and players being moved yet.
Yeah. You mentioned that, and ownership is an issue in Phoenix, as we've seen over the last few years, and some really crazy decisions made by that ownership group. What did you make of the Walters buying the Buss family out of the Lakers and that whole transition after the Lakers family and the Buss family and Jeannie owning this team for over 40 years now has relinquished that? What did you think when you first heard that?
I was a little bit surprised, like everybody else, but he already had a percentage of ownership with the group, and people thought if they ever did sell, it would be to Mark Walter. And
that was the thing, right? That a lot of people didn't realize that he had bought the Anschutz Group's percentage a few years back, and that he already was involved. And then everybody found out that, okay, he already owned some, and now he's got the majority share.
Yeah, that story kind of went under the radar, or at least it got buried and we forgot about it. But with the success he's had with the Dodgers, I know Lakers fans are ecstatic about this because they have felt like we're a little mom and pops type place for a team that has all this history and tradition. We're not competing in the ways we should be able to as a big market, as one of the preeminent franchises in all of sports in the modern NBA now. Of course, it's not the same. There isn't the availability to go out and just bring in Ohtani and bring in everybody like the Dodgers have and create a super team like that, because the second apron, a lot of teams view it as just a hard cap now because it's so restrictive in the NBA. It is so punitive with some of the things they can take away from you with first-round picks or being moved to the back of the line or not being able to aggregate trades. So you got two guys that make $30 million. You can't trade them for one guy that makes $60 million. It makes things very difficult, so teams do try to stay below it. And by the way, the two teams that were just in the NBA Finals were both below the first apron in Indiana and the OKC Thunder. The Lakers have been operating under the second as of late, where I think a lot of teams are trying to find that sweet spot to contend. But this at least gives them the ability to be on par with everybody else when it comes to the periphery stuff, which does matter. I'll give you two examples that if they had Mark Walter during these times, I think it would have gone differently. One, Alex Caruso doesn't end up leaving the Lakers, now two-time NBA champion after winning last night with OKC. That wouldn't have happened because they made a decision between paying him or Taylor Horton-Tucker, which I know looks really bad now. They could have paid both of them. They didn't want to dip into the luxury tax so much. That's what this new ownership group can do for them. And then also they lowballed Coach Lue, Tyronn Lue. And they didn't want to pay him as much as the market said he should have been paid for a coach that had won a championship. And they wanted to choose who would be his assistant coaches. Stuff like that is the difference. Who you have in the front office, there's no salary cap there. Your scouting department facilities. You can improve in all these little ways on the margins that do make a difference over time, and I think that's where the Lakers now have a much better advantage.
I agree with you. Yeah, they're going to invest in infrastructure. That's really the bottom line. Infrastructure. They'll have more scouts. They'll have more analytics people. They'll have more front office personnel. We made the point. Now, the Clippers haven't won, but Steve Ballmer has done it right.
Yeah.
I mean, he's put together a top-notch organization. They just haven't been able to win yet. The Lakers need to try to construct an organization like Steve Ballmer's. Would you agree?
I would. I don't want it to happen because I want the Clippers to have the advantage. But yes, they should. They could mirror the other team in town the way they do it. Steve Ballmer has spared no expense in areas where he's able to now. The reason they brought in the second apron is because of Steve Ballmer and Joe Lacob, who are paying $100 million in luxury tax every year and just didn't care about it. Because they have the money, they're the big spenders. I think Steve Ballmer is the fifth richest person in the world at this point. He's still the richest sports owner in North America for sure, North American sports. So, yeah, they could pattern themselves a little bit after what the Clippers have been able to do. They just brought in Monty McNair to their front office from the Sacramento Kings. That's a whole other story with what happened there up in NorCal. But he has always paid coaches. Jeff Van Gundy was brought in this past year as the defensive coordinator. He did a great job for them. They've been on top of the analytics. There was a time the Lakers were so far behind, around 2010 in the analytics department stuff. Like, they relied so much on being able to bring in superstars for so long and win that way, where it felt like the rest of the league was a farm system for the Lakers, and hashtag future Laker. If you have a player that's really good and young, he'll eventually end up with the Lakers. That's not the case anymore. They're not just going to be able to bring in everybody. Now, I know that's wild to say after they got Luka Doncic, but typically that is an outlier at this point. The Lakers are looking towards a future where there's more of a level playing field. There's more parity. Just look at the NBA Finals, 2 small markets. This is the way the NBA has been going. So all those teams in small markets who have been doing things on the margins, on the edges the right way to try to hang with the big ball clubs in the big markets, like, you have to fight back against that now if you're the Lakers.
Adam, NBA draft coming up. Your thoughts on that? Where are the Lakers? Where are the Clippers? And is there? I mean, obviously Cooper Flagg is going to be, the guy. But is this a strong draft class? And where do the Lakers and Clippers fall?
I will not pretend to be a draft expert because I get frustrated around this time of the year, and I would say K Fig is your man for this. He was one before anybody else pointed out how good SGA was. I remember Kevin here saying that, this was the pick. This was the right pick. And remember, he went 12th. And by the way, he was originally drafted by the Charlotte Hornets. So it was them who traded him originally, not the Clippers. Blame them for making the bad decision. They swapped with the Clippers drafting Miles Bridges at 12, SGA at 11. But I'm going to say this. When it comes to this draft, it feels like, because of NIL, a lot of these guys that were going to be mid to late round picks in the first round elected to stay in college because they could actually make more money. So it feels like there's a steep drop-off around pick number 10. Now, the top of the draft is obviously loaded with Ron Harper's son, obviously with Cooper Flagg. But after that, things could get a little bit murky because there's all this stuff with Ace Bailey and his representation and not working out with the Philadelphia 76ers and who's going to take him. He apparently wants to be the guy right away and be able to play and put up as many shots as he wants to. So I think there's a lot of uncertainty, and I always go back to this, guys, but I have done extensive research on just what a crapshoot the NBA draft is over the years, and I remember pulling the numbers from 2006 to 2016. So over a 10-year period here, you're talking 600 players drafted. Only 5% of those players became All-Stars. And only over that time, of the top 10 picks, 25% of those players became All-Stars. So remember that when on draft night, on the Evil 4 letter, wherever you're consuming your draft coverage, when they're acting like, this player is going to be so great in the league, It is an absolute crapshoot. You have no idea what you're getting. You can go back to any draft and see how teams screwed up by taking this player before, somebody like Tyrese Halliburton went or somebody like SGA went. I mean, right. Alex Caruso went undrafted.
Lou Dort
went undrafted. TJ went undrafted.
Yeah.
How many of these guys in this NBA final went late?
Yeah.
Even Miles Turner was like 15.
5, 6 guys that every year that okay, that they may be real, but other than that, it is a crapshoot, which is why it was ridiculous. All the hoopla and fodder over Bronny going 55th in the draft for the Lakers. It's like, oh, it's such a big deal. They wasted this. No, they didn't waste it. It's all a crapshoot, especially when you get to the second round. You don't know who's who.
Well, you remember we did a show about that, and we looked back over the last 10 years of pick 55s in the NBA draft where Bronny went. There's one guy remaining in the league. That guy, Aaron Wiggins of the Oklahoma City Thunder. But it does tell you one guy, one left. We're talking Indiana took somebody at pick 55, I think 2 years ago. He's already out of the league. Like, it's just an imperfect science. It is so difficult. All the scouts, all the front office guys that do this for a living can't figure it out. If you're batting 300 in the draft, it's just like in baseball. You're doing all right. Like, you're failing 70% of the time, and that's looked at as strong. So, yeah, I don't get too far into it. The Clippers have pick number 30 and then pick 51. The Lakers, I believe, just have a second-round pick unless they trade into the first round, too. So whoever they end up picking, I'll do a deep dive afterwards, but I'm just not interested in going through with a fine-tooth comb everybody that could be a possibility in this draft for teams I'm interested in because most of the time it amounts to nothing.
All right, Adam. Well, you amount to something every time. I love it. Adam. We appreciate it.
Bring the energy, bring the flavor, Adam. I love it.
I really thought I set you up there, Fred. Speaking of things that amount to nothing, thanks for joining us here, the Salty A. Appreciate you guys. Love y'all.
Appreciate it, Adam.